I'm 4 miles from South Carolina because things are cheaper in South Carolina. So I want to start my story back in October 2018 because that's when my parents went from Goodyear, Arizona. It's 20 miles west of Phoenix. I was living in Phoenix. They drove from Goodyear to where I am now in North Carolina for my oldest nephew's wedding. Along the way, my mom got sick. She got septic of blood poisoning, and she was put on a ventilator for 18 months. Thank God she got better, she came home. But at the time of October 2018, I was working as a Medicare broker. Medicare is what people, when they turn 65, they get on the federal program. Unfortunately, in the United States, they are broke, they're angry, and they're very angry when they find out part of their Social Security money has to go to pay for Part B. In October of 2018, I was only doing Michigan. It was open enrollment. I was in Arizona, Pacific time. Michigan is on East Coast time. So I had to be at work at 6 o'clock in the morning. My parents drove out to North Carolina. My mom got sick. I couldn't leave until Friday night, like a red eye from 11 o'clock, flew to Charlotte International Airport. My brother picked me up. We went to the hospital. I walked into my mom's hospital room. The priest was giving her last rites. I did not know she was that sick. That afternoon, 3 o'clock, it was a wedding. I had cousins from Florida, from Pittsburgh, my cousin from New Zealand, my cousin from Ireland. Fantastic time, lots of fun. Next morning, wake up, I borrow someone's car to go back to the hospital, say goodbye to my mom, not knowing if it'd be the last time I would see her or not. Flew back home, 1 o'clock in the afternoon after the wedding, back to Arizona because I had to be at work 6 o'clock Monday morning. While the week that was going on there, my father called me. He asked me to sell my house in Phoenix, actually it was a condo, sell the condo and move into their house because he thought he was going to be in North Carolina for several months. My mom was getting moved to a very specialized hospital in Pineville, just outside of Charlotte, where the entire floor, 24 beds, are only people on ventilators. Crazy, crazy time. Moving to their house, I'm dealing with their mail. In December, I can remember the date, it was a Saturday. It was a piece of mail, 27 pages thick, pulled in half, about this thick. It was her Medicare bill for November 2018. I opened it up, in big bold black letters, it said $172,000 for 1 month in a specialized hospital dealing with people on ventilators. I was in shock. My dad is a retired military officer. Everything's paid for. I was working as a Medicare broker. I had an $8,000 deductible every single year for my health insurance. I was in no place, if I got in trouble, I was in no place to do this. Called my friend Glenn, who was a real estate investor. He said, tonight we're having a party. Can you come and meet some people in Phoenix who are real estate investors? Why not? Go to a party where I know nobody but one person. Let's do it. So go to the party. You have to psych yourself up to get out of your car and go up. If you know Phoenix, it's on Camelback Avenue. The party's on the 15th floor with an infinity pool just at sunset. It was amazingly beautiful. So go to this party. I meet the gentleman who's running the real estate group called Alliance in Phoenix. His name's Zach Ullman. They talked to me. They asked me to come to a few meetings. I started in February. I self-directed my 401k from other jobs, so I have checkbook access. I paid $20,000 to get into the real estate group. Zach, who ran it, is also my mentor and the person who I look up to in the group. My first real estate deal in April of 2019, I bought 5 properties. 2 were bank-owned properties that I wholesaled. 1 was a performing note that they were paying me every month, $218, and 2 were non-performing notes. I got a reputation in the real estate group because who buys 5 properties at once? I'm like, I did. So the first property in rural Vermont, I called one real estate agent saying, hey, it's on rural route this. It was 30 miles from Stowe, Vermont, where there's really good skiing. She says, are you going to sell it? And I said, yes, but I know I've got 4 weeks to do due diligence. I knew there was back taxes and there was unpaid water bill. And the little town in Vermont didn't have the key to the basement to get the information on the house. They had to buy a locksmith to unlock the house. So she goes, call me back when you know all the information. I got the house for $8,000 and I sold it to her for $28,000. Paid up back my traditional IRA, the $20,000 for the real estate. Doing very well with real estate. The gentleman who runs the notes class, Jay Tannenbaum, is my mentor, teaching me things to do. He was upset because I kept wholesaling things. He's like, you can fix and flip it and run it as an Airbnb. I'm like, Stowe, Vermont, Phoenix, Arizona. No desire, 3,000 miles away, not my idea of fun. So going along, my mom came home, my dad flew my mom home in March of 2019. She's in a hospital near where I worked, North Phoenix, if anyone knows where it is. She's there. Oh, go back. I went out for Christmas to North Carolina on Christmas Eve in her hospital floor, 24 patients all around the floor, all are ventilators. 4 patients, families, took their family member off the ventilator to take them home against doctor's orders to go home and be, basically they're gonna die without this, this thing giving them oxygen. I thought that was shameful. So fast forward, I'm in my real estate group. In November of 2019, they bring in an outside guest, his name's Chris, and he's talking about infinite banking. I knew infinite banking from college because one of my students in college, I had to take her to the hospital. She had to get her stomach pumped because she was on things she shouldn't have been on. And she was the granddaughter of the Mars chocolate family. Her handler back in 1989 said, stop everything you're doing right now in college, become an insurance agent, and figure out about infinite banking. When I was introduced to infinite banking in 1989, it was $50,000 per year for the first 5 years, and then $100,000 after that. And I thought that was the funniest thing because I didn't have $10 to drive back over the Potomac River back to University of Maryland. They thought I was crazy. So the gentleman, Chris, comes to the meeting in November, talks about infinite banking. I start a policy. His company is having a get-together of all their clients January of 2020 in Daytona Beach, Florida. You think Florida sounds wonderful? This was freezing cold. Oh, it was so cold there. So at the meeting for 3 days, I stopped Chris and I said, I would like to run a mastermind in my real estate group because I think people need to know this. Infinite banking is a specialized policy, whole life policy in the United States where you take the cash value and can pay down your debt quickly, or like Walt Disney took a loan from his policy and bought the acreage in Anaheim for Disney World. Ray Kroc, the gentleman who started McDonald's, he took a loan from his policy to pay off his investors and start the first Ronald McDonald campaign. Chris says to me, there's not enough money in your real estate group. And I'm like, I bought a policy and I know somebody else who did. Later found out he sold 5 policies in one night and he thinks there's not enough money in the group. I've never sold 5 policies in 1 week. That was crazy. So I'm there talking to Chris. Someone comes up to me and he says, do you mind coming to the bar? I'll buy you a drink. I'm half Irish, I'm half Slavic, I'm American, free alcohol. Guess who goes to the meeting? So Josh Nelson is starting a new company called Infinite Wealth Strategies, and he doesn't want me to become an agent for 6 months because I am Chris's client. I thought, what great integrity. I go back to Arizona. The company starts in July. I petitioned Zach Ullman to say I would like to do a mastermind in the real estate group. And he goes, let's start after school starts. We're gonna start September 3rd, Thursday, 6 p.m. I did this for 18 months. While this is going on, Infinite Wealth Strategies also starts a trust that defers taxes in the United States. For a real estate investor, no capital gains, no interest income, no dividend income, no tax rolls or royalties. So I start selling this trust in my mastermind. I got 14 trusts sold in 18 months. Nice money. Well, Zach, who runs the real estate group, he goes and gets his insurance license, and I'm thinking, there goes my cash cow. He wants to travel all over the world, so he says, I'll do 50-50 with you. It's my people in the real estate group, you do all the work, and you pay me 50%. I'm like, okay, it sounds fair because I could have lost everything and only got 5%. So this is going on, working. So I somehow in May, I've been working with Susan for what, 20 months now? So May of 2021, I don't think Susan knows this, but I had a coach I found on Facebook who was going to teach me about manifesting. It was supposed to be a 6-week program for $3,000. This coach did week 1, week 2, week 3, and disappeared. I'm like, what happened to 4, 5, and 6? So Susan, I see an advertisement. I am rarely on Facebook, so I don't know how I found Susan in doing this. She was going to do 5 days, 1 hour a day, talking about, if you all know who Bob Proctor is, the Proctor Gallagher Institute. So every day, for me, it was 11 o'clock in the morning, Arizona time. She was doing an hour class, and then we had homework, and we had to post it on Facebook. The big thing about Bob Proctor is he has 3 different goals. An A goal is something you know how to do and have done it before. A B goal is you want to get something accomplished, but other people do it for you. A C goal is that you are doing something way out there you've never done before. So I don't know how I came up with this, but this is May or June of 2021. I put it on my homework. Everyone in the group could see what I said. I said I was going to sell 100 infinite banking policies outside of my real estate group because I didn't want to do the 50-50 split anymore. You know, Zach's off in Peru having fun, and I'm dealing with all the headaches. So this went on for 1 week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Fantastic program. Susan's going to have another program on Monday to talk about what she can do more with it. I contacted her and said, I'm going to be in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, an amazing place in Idaho. It's a huge lake, and then all these mountains come up around it, and it's where all the rich go to be rich, to be nice there. So I missed her meeting on the Monday. She sent me the recording. I'm like, okay, I really want to work with her. I learned a lot. This goal I have for 2021 is an amazing goal. Let me see what I can do to move money around. Move all the money around. I'm teaching the notes class up in Idaho to 22 people from all over the United States how to invest in performing and non-performing notes. On Friday, I have to drive the 30 miles back across the border to Spokane, Washington, and I'm waiting from 2 hours early for your airplane ride. I had set up a meeting with my first client outside of my real estate group, Trisha, who was a friend of mine. Her husband retired from the military. He joined the Air Force at 18. He's 38. He's retiring. She was losing her, it's called SGLI, Servicemen Group Life Insurance. She was insured for $100,000. Her husband's retiring from the Air Force. She no longer has life insurance. I did not know their youngest son, Cody. I've known them for 15 years. I did not know Cody was not her son. It was her brother's son. Her brother was killed in a car accident when Cody was 6 months old. So life insurance was very important to Trisha. That Friday, after talking to Susan on Monday, that Friday in the Spokane waiting area to get on the plane, 2 hours sitting there twiddling her thumbs, she gets a 3-way call with her grandmother, Miss Dot. She raised Trisha in Texas. Miss Dot is 72 years old. Her husband died 3 years earlier. He left her $10,000 CDs that come due every single month for 16 months. He was a banker. She was getting less than 1% on her money for the banking. Trisha had told her what was going on. If you don't know Texas, if you're behind on your property insurance, you can lose your house within 6 weeks, because they have something called Super Tuesday in every single county in Texas, where they will sell someone's house if they haven't paid their property taxes. Her church in Killeen, Texas, 2 ladies over 65 lost their homes because of this rule, and she was scared to death this was going to happen. So Miss Dot's on the phone with me. I explained to her, you're going to take out a $10,000 a year policy on your granddaughter Trisha. We've got the physical. You're going to get $7,000 from that. If you agree with me, we're going to take $5,000. She's going to get 4% on the insurance policy, compounded insurance on the insurance policy every year, and then the $5,000 we're going to put into a working note. She's going to get 7.9% on that. She's like, wow, this is brilliant. I want to do this. So go back to Arizona. I was up in Coeur d'Alene for 5 days. It's Saturday morning, 6 o'clock. I'm out doing my 4-mile walk. My phone rings. It's her. She's in Texas. It's 8:05 her time. She's like, thank God I'm awake because it'd be horrible. She called me at 6:05 and I'm still asleep. She goes, how fast can you get home? I have 7 people for you to talk to. Her entire bridge team, all 8 of them. She has arranged to have her 7 ladies and their grandchildren be on Zooms with me the whole next week to sell them infinite banking policies. Grandma pays for the policy, the grandchild gets the free life insurance policy, and grandma's gambling because she's got to pay for this 4 years and then it pays for itself. One of the grandchildren, Miguel, he works at a grocery store. He also tells 14 people at his grocery store. So all of a sudden, this sea goal that I did with Susan seems like it's going to come true. I'm talking to people, I'm selling things, I'm doing really, really well. My goal was to sell 100 policies outside of my real estate group. I failed. It took me until the second week of January to sell my 100 policies. Not too bad, not too shabby. I sold 100 policies. The day I sold my 100th policy, I get a check from Infinite Wealth Strategies. That was the wrong amount. I'm like, oh, it's only $500. What's the story here? Call Josh Nelson. I said, what's the problem? And he goes, well, Zach says he sold the trust to this guy, Brandon. I'm like, Zach's in Peru. I talked to Brandon 3 times before Christmas. One day, Christmas Eve, we had an hour phone conversation while I'm checking out at Walmart. I'm like, I'm the one who talked to him. So I send a simple text to Zach, who's in Peru, going, what happened to our 50-50 agreement? Hearing nothing back. Tuesday, every week, we always had a half-hour Zoom meeting. He's in Peru, I'm in Phoenix. He gets on and he just, a whole new person. I lied to him. I didn't tell him the truth. I'm selling policies outside of the real estate group. I'm like, it's none of your business. You know, it's my business. I've never seen someone so angry, so it was shocking. He's my friend, he's my mentor, and he's my business partner, and he burned every bridge with me. I said, I'm getting off the Zoom before you do something, or something said, and we can't go back. Send a message to Susan by WhatsApp going, help, my life is kind of crumbling. She goes, we'll talk 7 o'clock your time tomorrow morning, we'll talk about this. Susan gets on the phone, gets on the Zoom, or gets on the WhatsApp app. We're talking, and she goes, number 1, you need to stop going to those real estate meetings because Zach runs them. He's horrible for you. Number 2, you need to move out of Phoenix. Number 3, you need to figure out something else. Look, Susan knew that I lived with Pigpen. We literally called him Pigpen. He would stand in my, I had to sell my dad's house. He would stand in my bedroom door and spit over his shoulder like, I have to walk down that hallway to get to the bathroom? You're Pigpen. So that's one of the reasons I had to move. So I moved to North Carolina to live with my brother and sister-in-law whose son got married. They are in a 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath house. They have all these extra rooms. I stopped going to Alliance meetings. I switched over and started going to another real estate group, still under the overall thing of Renatus, the group I joined. I'm now doing another group. I did 6 houses in 2022. North Carolina has a very strange rule. You go to an auction, you buy a house for $10,000. Every other state in the union, including Puerto Rico, so Puerto Rico and Guam, you have that house. Not in North Carolina. North Carolina's rule is there's 101 counties. Each county's its own county. It's called upset bid. You have either 10 business days or 10 calendar days to walk into the courthouse and pay $10,750 for the house. And now you've got the 10-day window, and if no one upsets you, it's now your house. So I won 6 of these in 2022, and I started a whole other program where it's we're not having foreclosures, so they're all tax liens. So I'm helping families get tax liens for this. Started a new real estate group. My company, Infinite Wealth Strategies, in March of 2022, gets sued by a law firm because they plagiarized the entire pamphlet we did on the trust from their website, word for word, comma for comma, period for period. You don't plagiarize a law firm, they'll sue you. So I called the law firm and I said, hey, I just sold 14 trusts in my real estate group, everything else. Like, if you know how to do this, you can start selling the trust on our behalf, but you can't, our trust is patented and it's gonna have to be sold for more. So in April of 2022, Susan's helping me, she's mentoring me. Susan says, run with it. I now have done more real estate than I ever have done ever before in Arizona. I now have my own company. I now have my own podcast. I'm up to the 13th video on my podcast, Stop Paying Capital Gains Now. I just signed a contract with the second largest business brokers in the United States because Susan said you'll reach out to them. While I was at my brother's brewery one evening, let's say November, it was Tuesday night, so it was music bingo. I'm sitting next to a guy who says my dad's selling his company each route to eat myself, my brother, and my two cousins for $80,000 apiece. I give him my business card and said I can help him save capital gains. Because of that, we saved that family $72,000 to the American government, and they set up a legacy for the rest of the family. His wife calls me 2 days later in tears going, do you know how much $72,000 means to me and my family? I'm like, oh yeah, even $72 means a lot, but $72,000. So I use that example to get the second largest business brokers to now work with me. So if you're selling a business in the United States, you're either going to pay 15% or 20% capital gains. And the CFO, the business brokers, didn't know this. So now they sell 2 to 3 businesses a day. I just want 1% of them. My life is changing. So if you don't know Susan, if you've never worked with Susan, she is a wonderful mentor. She's going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, but to give you the truth. She's not going to turn on a dime, just like Zach did. She's setting up what you're doing here, Susan, with the Vetta program is just amazing. What Sharon's doing with the Vetta economy is amazing. Working with businesses, things like this. Susan, I'm still in her group. We're meeting every single Wednesday. It's a highlight of my day. She takes off 3 weeks in, was it June or was it July?
May.
I'm sorry?
It was May.
May. And you're seeing the writing on the wall, you're like, oh, she's gonna cancel our group out. We by the way, we had a fantastic thinking and results group, great people, just happy people talking. So Susan comes back, she closes out our group. We're still on WhatsApp talking to each other. We're still very good times here. Thinking, okay, it's done with, they're in the UK, I'm now in North Carolina, I'm not gonna see Susan again. She contacts me in August and starts telling me about what she's planning for the Vetta group. I'm like, that's beautiful. I'm so happy for you. And she goes, can you come to the UK in September? I'm like, what do you want from me? There's nothing I can do for you, Susan. So I come out in September. I came back in late November, December, but in September, she asks me, I'm floored by this, to help her take Vetta to the United States. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I would go through a brick wall for Susan. What she has done for me, how she has mentored me, how she has helped me through. I've never been spoken like that by anybody in my family or my friends before, how Zach just turned on me. When I found out the company was getting sued for plagiarism, I'm like, oh, this is easy. I just dealt with everything in January. Last January was a mess. So I am honored that Susan wants to bring her Vetta program to the United States. And I'm a little bit flabbergasted. She thinks I can help her, but I'll do it. But I just want to say thank you to Susan and to Sharon for setting me up for a completely new road to go. I will still sell the trust. I will still do my real estate, but there's the potential for what you guys have started here. It's just amazing. And if you don't know Susan and have not worked with her, I completely say, talk to Susan. She's an amazing human being to know, and she's the best mentor you could ever have. Thank you.